Hello everyone, CB3 here with another live update for Monday, August 5th, 5:37 in the morning, because there is a lot going on today. We had a major correction in the market on Friday that's bleeding over into Sunday night's markets and now Monday morning early here in the U.S. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about. CB3 Live update begins now. It's been quite some time since we've had a market move this big. We've got futures down considerably in the NASDAQ, S&P, Dow, and Russell. This is a carryover from Friday, as I said in the opening of today's show. So this month's newsletter, which is going to come out tomorrow, Tuesday, August 6th, will take on a different format, which is going to focus solely on what's going on in the market activity. Normally, I talk about a variety of topics, and then on my show Thursday night, August 8th, we'll focus almost solely on this correction. And the reason for that is because those of you that listen to me, that are my clients, that are following CB3 Live, know that I am an active trader. I don't outsource our investments to anyone. I make all the trading decisions for our clients' behalf. And when these kinds of market downturns happen, our risk protection strategies become more important than ever. CG went to 13% cash on Friday at the market open. We did not repurchase any of those stocks that were sold off. We lost 4 stocks to stops in GI, and we did replace those, and actually GI was down less than 1% when the general market was down over 2.25%. Not sure what we're going to do today, but I'm pretty sure we will not be repurchasing any stocks that get hit on stops. I know it gets cumbersome between stocks with CKS and stops, but listen carefully because it matters. All right, so I know you guys are concerned. What is going on? So last Friday, as I just mentioned, the NASDAQ fell into corrective territory. That means it's down more than 10% below its lifetime high. That lifetime high was set just last month in July. All right, so this has happened pretty fast. What's causing this? Economic concerns, so weak economic data, disappointing job results, manufacturing activity, raising fears that the U.S. economy and potential recession could be around the corner. I still don't see a recession yet, but we're going to need some quick response from the Federal Reserve. And of course, that's what's really in play here is this market is showing its disappointment. Note that I paused there for a second. And disgust. All right, that's what they're really showing. They're disgust with the Federal Reserve and Jay Powell in particular for not handling this any better than he has. So what has happened is we have high valuations in a lot of the tech stocks. This is driven by the height of enthusiasm around artificial intelligence, aka AI, and anticipated rate cuts that just have not materialized. And that falls solely on the Federal Reserve for not doing it. We've had major tech companies like Intel and Amazon with weaker than expected quarterly earnings. That is a surprise that no one wants to see when these stocks are priced pretty much to perfection. So the overall market sentiment turned negative Thursday, got really negative Friday, and now, of course, overseas, really weak last night, and it's been a very short night for me. And now this morning, what we would expect. So the U.S. is the market leader in the bonds, in stocks, in derivatives, which means options and futures. And really the market, when we burp, the market collapses sometimes. And that's not necessarily fair, because I do think you're going to see that this is not a change in direction in the secular bull market. I do not believe that's the case, but every market needs corrections from time to time, and usually there are 2 to 3 of them every year. The last one we had was in April of this year. This is now August. This could be the last one for the year, but it could be down here for a while unless the Federal Reserve issues some sort of statement. And in fact, many of us in the industry are thinking, it's time to make an emergency rate cut, guys. You should have figured this out. So all of this is what triggered this 10% decline in the NASDAQ, which is going to be close to 12 to 14% down by the time the market opens this morning. So you'll just have to stay tuned. If warranted, I'll put out another podcast update tonight or tomorrow. But again, I have a live show on Thursday. You will want to be there for that. So here are the U.S. economic concerns. The jobs report was a disappointing number. The unemployment rate was expected to stay at 4.1. It actually rose to 4.3. Interest rate expectations, again, I mentioned earlier, the likelihood of a 50 basis point cut by the Federal Reserve surged to about 80% in the futures market. Again, I haven't seen the VIX at 50 in over 4 years. And the VIX just overnight, I mean, it closed right around 18 to 19 on Friday, but it's up 27 points or 116%. This is the thing about markets, folks. When they decide to move, they're going to move, which is why you have to have a strategy in place. As I mentioned earlier, we're pretty certain at least a half a dozen of our stocks in CG and probably several in GI are going to have their stops hit, and that's okay. It's that risk protection we tell you about. We risk no more than 1% for every stock. Now, in rare cases like this, when the stops get blown right through at the market open, we may lose more than 1% just based on today's performance because there was no one there to buy it at our stock stop loss. That does happen on occasion on these extreme market moves, but the plan stays in place for your CG and GI portfolios. For DS, it's going to be a rough day. All right. But you guys that are in DS, discretionary strategies, you know this. We have the biggest position in this household, Alice and I, our trust accounts, trading DS, the biggest position of all of our clients. So we feel the pain just like you do. That said, we're going to be fine. We've been here before. You guys that have known me and traded with me for 20 plus years know that we're going to be okay. So as expected, the Nikkei in Japan suffered its worst one-day drop since 1987, almost 40 years, falling about 12% in the first few hours. So these kind of just histrionic reactions are rare. And what happens is everyone looks around and goes, I think we overdid that. And so at some point, people will come back in and buy. And this is like pruning trees. So you guys see when those city services or county services are out there pruning trees in the roadside there to make them look better, to keep them from getting diseased or from getting a branch breaking off and hitting a car. I mean, this sort of pruning has to happen in the stock market and the bond market and the derivatives market, the futures and options and foreign currencies from time to time. It just has to. But it's never easy, and it's always somewhat painful for us in the very short term. My job here is to reassure you that we watch this, we have a plan, we execute the plan, we mitigate losses. We're not worried about gaining in the market here in the next week or so. We are focused on reducing risk in your portfolios. That's what we're doing. And we'll see what happens later on this morning in the U.S., but right now it's looking really volatile. So today, August 5th, is going to be remembered as one of the biggest down days of this year, 2024. And there's a lot going on. There will be more in my newsletter later tomorrow. And then you'll see on the show Thursday night, probably won't cover a whole lot of different topics. We're going to focus solely on what's going on here. What are the political implications? What are the economic implications? And of course, how does this specifically affect the CB3 financial programs into which many of you listening to me right now are invested? Hang with us. We appreciate your business. I assure you, we are on top of this and we are doing our very best to mitigate any risks on an active hour-by-hour basis as your portfolio manager. Stay informed, stay safe, stay tuned with us. We will see you Thursday night on CB3 Live.